I'm Josh Sigman, and I'm a mortgage lender. I'm also a geek for money, not just earning it and saving it, but literally everything about it. I love that money has rules. It has its truths. I love investment strategies, and I love making money work for us. For so many, money is emotional. For me, it's logical, like a puzzle. My passion is also helping others with their money. I love looking at people's finances, dissecting their puzzle, and rebuilding with strategy and purpose, and I'm really good at it. I'm making this podcast about my money strategies, not the things that are written in books or sold in programs. It's a podcast outlining the lessons I've learned and used for the past 15 years. These strategies help me and those who use them save more, give more, create wealth, and retire early. Let me teach you how to build your net worth. You ready? Welcome to Sigman Sense.
Okay.
Yeah, when you're talking, you just gotta make sure it's within about an inch.
Can I hold it?
Josh is really good about going like this, moving it closer for you.
Well, that's because you're like.
Please don't shove the microphone in my mouth.
Jesus Christ.
They are a married couple, folks.
Oh, loaded.
All right, you guys ready?
I don't have a coffee cup, but whatever.
Oh,
Your
you don't drink coffee.
first guest.
You don't drink
Don't
coffee.
even take my coffee.
Take
cup.
mine.
I would have given you coffee, but you don't drink coffee.
No.
All right, guys. So we're gonna have a fun episode today. The Rouse family has kindly accepted an invitation to kind of go through what we do for and have done together for years, which is their own personal family budget. We're going to omit like account numbers and things like that, and we're not going to show the actual budget so people know where their money is.
Yeah, don't upload this as a
Right.
file for people.
Yeah, like
reference file.
reference file, exactly right. But what we do want to do is just, this is it's on our calendar, recurring event every month. It's something that we talk about for 30 minutes or so, and so we just kind of want to run through it, and I think it's super important. And then of course, everyone's met Brynn by this point, but no one's met Randy yet. So welcome, Randy.
Just hide in the background.
Hide in the background.
But I talk about you a lot, so
we do. Yeah.
face with the name.
When you were, I actually want you to go ahead and share your. When Brynn invited you, and I said, "Hey, I just want to say thank you. Like, are you sure you want to be here?" What was the real answer when she invited you?
It was, I don't have any interest in doing this for the public to see. And if you would have asked me prior to, I would have said no. And she said, thanks for coming.
There's transparency and honesty for you.
Yeah.
So we know for sure this is not a planted thing, and I appreciate you being here for
like
sure.
the concept of sitting down with your wife's boss on a monthly basis with an itemized expense report of your family spending. Super weird to begin with. But
That's why
then it gets
miscellaneous
another
is my
level
name.
of weird when you want to record it for other people to watch.
Just a few.
It's
Just
for
a
the
few.
people, babe. It's
Yeah.
for the people.
This is paying it forward, and I think
All
that's
right.
I think that's the name of the game. The good news is, when we go through the personal family budget now, and we go back, what have we been doing? Honestly, like 4 years now. Is it
Four?
Is it 4 years? 3 years?
I
4
would say
years?
closer
Right.
to 5.
When did you sell the
right?
beach house?
I don't know.
Because it was a year.
But we
and a
did
half
it with
before that.
we did it with another person.
We started with
before.
Jen
With
for
Jen
a
Hernandez.
year.
That's right. Okay.
1 year with her.
And then so your son's been type 1 for 2 years now.
2 years.
Yep.
And so you
that's
sold your house a
3.
year before that.
I'd say
and
5. I'm going to go with
unless-
5.
It's probably 4 with me and 1 more with Jen, right?
Yeah, probably
Cool. So
It's a
the
long
good
process.
news is it is a long process, and we do want to get into that. So the point is that we're doing this budget today 5 years later. So the good news is that there's not a whole lot to talk about, right? So once you get in that habit, just like anything else, you start working out. You all of a sudden this is what we do this
Right.
day of the week, and just get it over with. And so when I go through this, I'm like I said, I'm not going to go into exquisite detail, but today that we're recording this happens to be the 27th of February, and if you look back at your calendar, the 26th, 25th, and 24th of February are not great for the Dow Jones.
No.
And so I do see some negatives
Yes,
as far as
super fun to calculate that and put it on paper.
right. But at least you know.
Oh, yeah.
We
We definitely know.
So there are. It's not fun to look at retirement accounts today, but it's good stuff that we'll talk about in general. And so let's just kind of blast through it. And I have not looked at this yet, so I just want to just do it live. So mortgage payment budget's the same. Didn't overpay that. All the basic utilities, AT&T, Versaws, CPS, pest control. What's the deal with the subscriptions?
Yeah, so that one stuck out. So I think we've added a few entertainment subscriptions,
Okay.
Disney Plus and all this stuff. And
I
so
thought that was free. I thought that was a free trial. Did
it's
it
definitely
expire?
not. Yes.
I thought it was.
I think it's free when you
30
start,
days.
and then they start hitting you for it.
Oh, I'm the queen of like mark your calendar and cut it off. Do we not do that?
It's $3 a month.
Oh, okay.
So what's the
that-
$65
But-
disparity?
But there's, in looking at this past month, it looks like there's a couple extra things, and some of those might have been canceled or a free trial that didn't get canceled on time.
Okay.
But it's just a thing that stuck out that we need to pay attention to. It's
Well,
not
I love that you
65
said
bucks.
that.
Not gonna
Make or break the bank.
yeah.
But I love that you just said that because, one of the things I see often is people don't even know what they're still paying for,
Right.
or the free trial that ended 9 years ago, that they automatically pay their credit card, and so they'd never cancel it ever. And they're like, "Holy crap! I've been paying for that gym membership from Canada that I left 5 years ago."
Yeah.
So it's good to catch that. So just double check it because it's
Yeah,
up by what is that? 35%.
The monthly reoccurring expenses, if they're categorized by themselves, stick out a lot more.
Yep.
If you add it into entertainment or something like that, it kind of gets buried. But pulling those out is a big help because then you're like, okay, this is scum.
That's right.
Is this like the like the Dropbox and the like this computer type stuff? Okay,
Yep.
got it.
Okay.
All right.
And then looks like normal wear and tear on your car. Had some vehicle maintenance.
No,
Done.
so we budgeted for that, but we didn't need it. So that's
Oh.
we
Perfect.
had
So that's a savings item. Nissan payment, good. Progressive insurance for cars, good. Is there going to be any change to the insurance because of your daughter driving now, 16?
Oh, we looked into that.
It's probably going to be a good jump.
Not yet. I mean,
Okay.
she's not a licensed driver yet, but when we added her as a permit driver, it didn't change.
Okay. You might proactively reach out to insurance and find out what that will be, just to make sure it's not the month of.
Yeah.
Right.
Bus pass.
So what is it now? You can't drive until 16 and a half or something? When do you get your license?
Well, you have to once you get your permit, you have to wait 6 months before you get your license.
Got it.
And so
Yeah, so
she didn't get her permit.
Some teenagers are more proactive than others, I guess.
Well, and talking to her friends, she's like way ahead of the schedule. So, I mean, there's kids that just they're
Yeah,
just
they
not
don't-
interested
they
in
don't care
driving.
anymore.
Yeah. So she
Snapchat.
should be getting her if we stay on schedule, which it looks like we will. February, March, April, May, June, July, August. So August, September timeframe.
Okay. I'd expect that at least she's a girl. Girl insurance costs are lower than guys. Guys like to race. It seems like Best Buy is good. Grocery bills up.
Yeah, that's a
But look at our hot bodies.
yeah. that's a change in diet.
So if you're
And
eating
changing
better at
grocery
home,
shopper.
if we're eating better at home though, are eating out expenses down?
Yeah, there was only 3 charges for all of January for
Wow.
fast food or restaurant food.
Good for you, dude.
Holy moly.
So-
Good for you, dude.
I think a lot of that increase in grocery bill, I bet half of that difference is made up from not eating out.
I'd be really curious what the real number is. I bet it's more than that.
So because we're meal prepping every single Sunday, I'm grocery shopping every single Sunday.
So you need to adjust that then on your budget for that monthly allowed. If we see a second month of it going up to that 700 range, just make sure that
I
you,
imagine it will.
yeah. And then I'd really like to see what that specifically what it comes down to eating out.
Yeah.
What the pills are. Okay.
Do you feel like the groceries are good though? Like what I'm doing with, because I just put everything on curbside, so I just order it online. Like we're not wasting.
I
a
think
ton
we
of
could
food.
probably spend a little more time being aware of what the costs are for the month instead of for the week.
Okay.
And go into it with a weekly number.
Of
Which
what-
just makes
of
it harder.
what
You got to
to spend on.
strategize on food and
I know.
things like that. So it's
I know.
if you're
Do you
not,
guys eat leftovers?
I probably consume most of the leftovers.
Yeah, that's something my household has to work on. Is we have too much food waste when we overbuy for groceries. Like there's too much food waste, which becomes an issue.
Well, when you have to make every meal with fresh food and not just like
Yeah.
pull something out of the freezer, I think we make less or smaller quantities.
Yeah. So there's not
Okay,
as much.
that's good.
It took a couple of weeks to not have some rotten produce or like kind of
I
a
think-
couple of weeks to dial it in.
Yeah.
And purchase versus
Right.
consumption.
Versus what we're actually going to eat. Yeah.
Well, you used to run a restaurant too, so
Yeah,
I'm sure you
yeah.
got that figured out.
It helps when your wife starts buying the groceries.
Maid cost increase. Is this a permanent change?
So I think I'm going to let our current maid go and get a new maid. So the answer is I don't know. Ideally, though, I don't want to. If I can get a better maid, then they could come. Then they could come every 2 weeks.
Okay.
But like,
Yeah, we talked about it this morning. Brynn, like, she told our maid she didn't like her by asking her to come more. Thought that was a weird strategy.
That's a weird strategy. Bold move.
You're not good enough, so we need you to come do a poor job more
So what
frequently.
you're going to do is you're going to overwork them? Is that the plan? And then they'll quit?
Well, I'm like, gosh, you can't even tell when she's here, and her cleaning doesn't last very long. So she needs to come more frequently.
The struggle is real. It's real.
All right.
I said she's coming today.
It's $100 difference.
She'll be here. Can you fire her while she's here?
Haircuts.
He said no.
What's the miscellaneous expense change? There's $275 unaccounted for. I don't like miscellaneous. What's that?
That's my favorite category.
You just hide money?
That's where we hide everything from you.
That's where it is.
Do we have a guess of what the $275?
No, I think so. Our daughter's 16th birthday was in February.
Got it.
So there's a couple, like there's this kid's miscellaneous that had a big bump, but that's like her birthday party dinner, but kind of like the extra little things that we did for her birthday is probably going to make up most of that.
Done, haircuts, and of course you've got all the insulin stuff dialed in now, doctor stuff dialed in. Has the insulin pump increased or decreased your insulin expense? It should have decreased.
Well, we got 90 days worth of insulin, glucose meters, pumps, and supplies in December. So that was free because our deductible had been met.
That's perfect.
So we haven't spent $1 this year.
Wow, that's fantastic.
Do we have any vials left?
No, but we've got lots of pins. We can use the pins.
You can drain the pins. Okay, got it.
So in a month or so, you'll have to go back and rebuy and fill it up. Got it. Okay. And what's that new cost going to be ish?
I don't know. I'm just enjoying it not costing anything right now.
Oh, you read those terms.
It is a number that I'm frightened to learn.
I think before we go further, I think this is one of the valid things to talk about, right? Like the best laid plans, right? A budget's a budget. The best laid plans is kind of like time management. If you're on track 90% of the time, it's a pretty damn good budget and it's pretty good time management. Because there's always going to be something. There's going to be, well, this kid had a birthday,
right,
my anniversary. But what I will say is that it's within reason. Like when I'm going through, like you had a few that were under, but the few that were over weren't like $1,000 off. And that's a weird thing that I see with a lot of people is like there's no restraint or control on that. Like keeping up with the Joneses of birthday parties as an example.
Right.
Like you see people do crazy things and spend $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 on a freaking kid's first birthday party because it's their first birthday party.
Right.
I mean, there's definitely different challenges when you have excess income and to like not spend it versus like we don't have an extra $1,000 to spend on a birthday. So it's not really an option. So to manage, mandatory expenses and not go overboard with some fun stuff.
Yep.
Just have different challenges than, if you're bringing in $10,000 extra
right,
a month.
Yeah.
Yep.
And you need to work through how to save 9,000 of it instead of having an expensive birthday party. It's just a different.
No, I agree with you there. And the fact is that you see that as a reality, but you do have a choice, right? Like what's your credit card limit? Not that you have a balance. What is your credit card limit? Ish.
Zero. The number is zero because we don't have any credit cards. Well, I think you have one that's like $300, right?
Right.
It's not $300.
And before you started budgeting, what were your combined credit card limits? Can you remember?
I bet it was probably $15,000.
Right.
Yeah, probably so.
And so my point is this, right? So what people see as necessity is a perspective issue, right? Like, well, my daughter's friend got blank for her 6th birthday. She needs a damn iPhone, right? No, she's a 6th grader, right? Doesn't necessarily need an iPhone. So because it might be viewed as a necessity by some people, then that goes on the credit card. And so there goes the budgeting out the window because now we're dealing with negative debt. What the change has been for you guys is that you took income, you took life instances like your son having type 1 diabetes, and you made it work to the positive, not being okay with it staying in the negative with credit cards, right?
Totally.
And that's the difference of 4 to 5 years.
Yeah, it would have been a lot. It would have been a lot harder to handle the increased expense of having diabetes,
right,
if we would have still been using reserve money or credit for things we thought were essential.
Yep.
Like to be able to switch from, hey, let's go out to eat and use the credit card to now we have $900 a month in new medical expenses. Like, I don't think we would have been prepared for that.
What's super interesting about what you just said there is what I see happen a lot is people make choices with their spending and habits and lack of budgeting in the best of times. And then if they budget, it typically is because of a point of pain at some point, like somebody lost a job. They have to.
Pain,
somebody got disabled at the job and their income got cut in half if they have disability insurance, if they're lucky to have disability insurance. And so that's what was different for you guys, which I'm super proud about, is you guys were budgeting for coming up on probably 3 years, and we were just rocking and rolling at that point. I remember very vividly, it's like, oh, you look at the savings going up and you guys are doing great now. And that then you were dealt a pretty decent financial blow permanently, right?
Yeah.
At least for the next 18 years anyways.
Well, one thing that Randy and I have talked about is we want to always pay for Weston's insulin.
That's awesome.
For his entire life. Like I never want for him to ever have the burden of having to pay for insulin. Like it's hard enough to get ahead in normal life.
That's amazing.
So, he's going to graduate college and immediately have this insulin bill until we find a cure.
He's going to have an awesome job with awesome insurance, and it's not going to cost him anything.
Well,
right?
if that's the case.
No, we definitely don't want our
a
kids
goal for us,
to have to start their early careers with a big medical burden.
Yeah. No, actually, I never even
brain.
Considered that. Like the normal kid coming out of high school, if they went to college or went to the workplace, regardless, it's tough enough.
It's tough enough.
Like making ends meet is a real issue.
Right.
Sure. I remember eating tuna for a lot of years.
Yes.
But that's very cool. But my point, I guess, of saying that is that you were able to handle it because of the work you did while you were in a good spot, right? And we talked about this actually in a different episode, which is if it's a good decision in a bad time, it's a good decision a good time too, right? Yeah. Like if you're doing frivolous spending in a bad time and you should make the change, you should probably get rid of the frivolous spending in a good time as well to be prepared for what we're all going to get, which is a bad day.
Yeah.
Right. We're all going to get our bad day one day, right?
Yeah. So, that a couple instances where you have like that windfall or a big bonus or, proceeds from the sale of something.
Of property. Yeah.
Like we've had a couple of those happen, and before the money was even here, there was a pretty detailed plan as to what was going to happen. I love that you said that. I forgot about that. Yeah. You had a sale of a property, I remember. And the budget meeting before that sale was, okay, how much should this go to college? How much should this go to debt reduction? How much of this should go to just padding, the money market padding?
Yes. Yeah.
And I think most people, that check shows up in the bank and it's like, a tax return, a tax refund is a good example. Like an unexpected $2,000 or $3,000, permission to go have a great weekend.
Absolutely.
No. Plan better. What are we going to do?
Or it's, you just use it to get caught up on something, whatever you think needs to be caught up on. And if you're not having somebody kind of guide you through or you've been looking at this, it can be wasted. One thing while I'm thinking about it, I think part of the miscellaneous might be all the dance lessons that leading up to tryouts. So that'll be
tryouts. Okay.
I mean,
tryouts
just
are the first weekend, 2 weekends away.
$400 to register 2 kids for Little League, like that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But really,
anyways, just while I was thinking about it, I wanted to
might be smaller numbers to some people or crazy numbers to others, just to see the difference and see those unique instances kind of be able to pop out on the page.
Well, yeah, you have to make a question. It's not all just a bunch of mud of what's going on now. You didn't always think this way, right? So one thing you shared with me, I think actually before we even started this conversation, was how daunting it was to actually finally get it all committed to paper, right? And before we jump it down into what happened with the market and my retirement accounts, I do want to talk for a few minutes anyways about if going back, because you're more recent to starting budgeting than I am, What were the biggest challenges that you had, and what would be advice to somebody that's thinking about starting budgeting tomorrow?
Sure.
What would be those one or two things that you heard or that you just figured out that really simplified and said, okay, I can do this, before you kept breaking it out? Because it probably takes a year, slowly but surely to really get a handle on it. Yeah. But what would be the tips and the frustrations that you encountered early on?
Yeah, I mean, once you kind of get over the emotional fear of sharing this with somebody, especially.
But sharing it with ourselves too, I think, is a big piece. Like, it's not fun. Like, when you lay it all out, it's kind of it's very uncomfortable.
It is.
It's very uncomfortable.
Yeah, it can be super weird, and for a while it was, and but for me, the first year was I was trying to get so detailed and download the bank statement and go through every transaction and probably have 30 different categories of miscellaneous spending. Right now it's just miscellaneous, but this takes about 15 minutes. So before it was like a 2-hour like
so cool.
What the hell is happening here? Like, really thinking I needed to know more than I did. And so I think you mentioned to me as I was struggling through that, it's like, man, at the most basic level, it's like, did you spend more than you made? I was like, okay, well, I'm not going to simplify it that much for my own brain, but I think we can definitely relax,
at least be able to answer that question.
Yeah, to be able to answer that question. So
did we?
Just simplifying things, get a better understanding of the minimum amount of money you need to continue life as you currently have it.
Yep.
And once you get a handle on that, it's like, okay, where's the waste? Where's the unnecessary stuff? And as you start to build some of that savings and some of that reserve, it gets less awkward and less, intimidating. Mm-hmm. And then, the biggest piece is when you start to see the big number grow.
Yeah.
Because 2% of $1,000 is not that exciting, but 1% of $500,000 is pretty cool. So
that's
and it works both ways. Like with this week being a difficult financial markets, but because we've met with our financial advisor and made sure that we're pretty well balanced and have cash set aside for emergencies and stuff, you can just kind of take market dips in stride, or some unplanned expenses you're just better prepared for, and they don't feel like they're the end of, like, where are we going to sleep next month because we have this hospital bill or something.
Yeah.
So it's just simplifying things. Don't overthink it, and just get a handle on the total money that you spend on stuff.
I think what you just said is I forgot even I told you that, but it's the most basic principle of growing wealth. It's like, did you make more than you spent? End of story.
Yeah.
If you do that over time, I don't care. I think my first financial mentor told me, if you just save $1 more every month and spend $1 less every single month, over a lifetime, you'll be rich. It's like, okay, I can at least figure that piece out. And I love that you were really quick to knowing your subscriptions are going up, right? Yeah. And more importantly, I don't think most of America really equates down to, it's just $3. It is $3.
It is $3.
It's $3. But you were like, well, how much is it? Because
it's $215.
I love it.
For Disney Plus, we need to watch a whole lot more Disney Plus.
That's right. So I appreciate you saying that, Randy. Outside of that, let's address the freaking markets. So yes, there was a loss in net worth this month for you guys, and it's primarily or almost all attributed to 401k, IRAs, Roth, college funds, stocks. They all took a dip. Okay. Panicked or not panicked, personally?
Really, when I look at this, I see we have 2 Roth accounts, and the college funds is combined 2 different accounts. Mm-hmm. And those had a pretty small dip, right? Yeah. So that's the money we want to be there a long time from now. And the college funds is, we don't want that to go down very much. So it's kind of boring investments. And when the money that you want to be there for your kids doesn't go down a lot, that's not too much stress.
Love that.
The other,
and what you're saying basically is because it's invested in less risky investments. At the end of the day, it was that piece of the puzzle went down less than 1%. That's where it's at.
Yeah.
So the college funds, that type of stuff has gone down less than 1% because it's in less risky investments. That's right.
I mean, where things have gone down a lot is where we have a higher risk tolerance. Like, and this is all, maybe twice, 3 times a year, meet with the financial advisor and say, here's what we have. Do you have any recommendations to make any changes?
Yep.
And we do another risk assessment every year and say, hey, we've got, these stocks.
Yep. And I love that. And I questioned you as soon as you walked in because homework, I think 3 months ago was go talk to Ron again and show him your 401k and make sure that you don't need to rebalance it. And for people that are listening, if you have a 401k, what most people do is they set it up one time. They ask their neighbor, like literally at the cubicle next to them, hey, how do you invest? If they put it into anything other than cash. And then they literally haven't looked at it in 15 years, which is a problem. Because,
and that is a lack of education. I didn't know that. I didn't know that within that 401k, there's all different
choices you can make based on your age and your risk tolerance.
Right.
And you said that, your own risk tolerance. And so the fact that you actually did go and double check allocation and Ron said, oh, you're good. That's part of the reason why you probably feel okay. The other thing that you said is spot on. So I was going to bait you, but I'll just say it out. You're not selling your stocks. I'm not letting you sell your, right.
No.
So, and the reason is that what most people do is they see a bad day or 5 weeks or 5 months when you start really approaching, 6 months and more is obviously recession. But you get to that point where, holy crap, the world's coming unglued. I need to protect what I've got a lot left. And just the reminder is you make money in real estate the day you buy it. You make money in stocks the day you sell it. And so if you choose to sell at a loss, you chose to not make money on that stock, right? And so because it's long-term money, unless you fundamentally believe that the stock market is done and going kaput and it's over, that's for 20 years from now, 25 years from now. So who cares? Buy some more, buy it at a discount. That's really the best answer I can give right now.
Well, we also, if we look at the 401k and be like, man, it's down from last month, but the year to date's still pretty good. So like we didn't set this up just to be a 3-day investment. So just looking at the 3-day historical chart doesn't serve us any good.
Oh, I like that. I like that.
It's funny that you just said that. So I'm a visual person. So, I'm like a duck myself in that I look very calm and collected all the time, but my feet are kicking like hell under the water. And so, my 1% of my assets the last 3 days is really not comfortable. It's not comfortable.
Zoom the chart out.
Right. That's literally what I did is I went to on my stock thing, I went to a 2-year view. And so in the last 3 days that we've erased about 6 months of gains, but I'm still up for a year and a half of the 2 years. So when I look at it in that context, which is not the holy crap, the market lost 1,000 points yesterday. Holy crap, the market lost 3 or 4 or 5% yesterday. It's not that big of a deal. It's not the end of the world. Unless you're about to retire tomorrow.
Yeah, that would suck.
Right. That's a different conversation, which they would suck really bad. And then you'll be working a couple extra years, right? Any last questions about your budget for this month? Because I think you guys did a great job. You had the right answers as far as knowing where you were over. You saved in some areas. The only reason net worth is down is because the stocks are down. I'm not worried about that. It's a short-term thing. Do you guys have any questions or concerns that I can answer today?
Can we have some more money?
Great question. Well, when this podcast hits 1 million viewers, I think I'm going to have to pay more.
Right. So next amount of money that comes in. Actually, we need to do a home improvement because we haven't done that yet for this quarter.
Okay.
Right. And then, so the next large sum of money that comes in, what should we do with it?
I would probably do a third, like we've talked about in a different podcast. I take a third of it, get it to your financial planner, and take advantage of a discount on the stock market. I'm sure that's what he'd tell you. I'm not a financial planner, but that's what I would do with my money.
Okay.
I would sideline a third in cash.
Okay.
And that's put a third into future funding of things like you brought up, rehab stuff that I know you have planned, and vacation stuff. But between those 3 things, I just set aside a third.
Okay.
I do like having a little bit excess cash right now.
So cash, Ron, and what was the last third?
And the other third is to pre-fund some vacation or rehab stuff that I know that you have planned.
Oh, this is
Yep.
okay. All right, cool. All right, awesome. Way to go, babe.
Randy, you did really well. By the
did
way,
so
you
good.
have a radio voice,
I was
man.
gonna say, you
got a
sound
great
so
radio voice.
good in this microphone.
You really do.
Does
Does he say sweet nothings to you at night and you just close your eyes and listen to your husband's voice?
I can
Is
never
that what
hear
happens?
him. Like I can never.
I think if we had microphones and headphones, it'd be a lot different.
Some freaky stuff up in there.
Well, thank you for
yeah.
being so transparent, guys. I thought this was a great episode, just from a standpoint of, hey, this is real life. Like this is what people need to be doing.
Yeah,
so
for sure.
For more information, like, comment, subscribe, text us. We're here to help.
And tell your friends.
Tell your friends. Tell your friends. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.